What is up, Knicks fans? Welcome back to another episode of Fireside Knicks with your hosts, Dylan and Davin. We hope everybody is having a very Merry Christmas or whatever you guys celebrate. But today, we want to talk about something that we've been really enjoying this month, the New York Knicks. Simple as that. They've been playing great basketball in the month of December. They have won 14 of their last 18 games, and their defense has improved big time, and that's what we're going to focus on today. They've now jumped up to the 14th best defensive rating in the league, which is not, where we want them to be, but it's a lot better than what they were entering the month of December. They have the 5th best defensive rating overall in the month of December compared to the rest of the teams this month. They've really made a good step in the right direction on that end of the floor, and it's contributing to winning basketball. It's why they've been winning so many games lately, why they're comfortably in 3rd place in the Eastern Conference. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So Davin, first off, tell me how you're doing, and secondly, what have you really noticed about this Knicks team this month and the defense especially?
Doing great, man. Happy holidays to everyone. And to be honest with you, this is exactly what we've been anticipating. This is what we've been waiting on. The New York Knicks are now top 5 defensive rating over the last 10 games. In the month of December, looking prolific, really remarkable out here. And top 3 in offensive rating. So we're really finding the perfect balance currently. They're coinciding. I still think some few things could be adjusted, but right now I have no complaints about what we're seeing from the New York Knicks.
Yeah, I mean, the Knicks have just been playing great, and I think really the defensive leader has been OG Anunoby, which we expected. I think everyone here expected him to be kind of that defensive leader, that guy that was really kind of being the main focal point of the defense, but he's just been tremendous on that end of the floor. He's averaging 1.6 steals and over a block per game as well, while also averaging a cool 17 points per game on top of that on good efficiency. I mean, last night against the Toronto Raptors, he basically did not miss a shot. He made his first 11 shots and only missed 2 on the entire night. Good for 31 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. I mean, the guy's been unbelievable this year. I really think he should be an all-star. I think he's making a fantastic case for it. At the end of the day, I'm very unsure if he's actually going to make the All-Star team, but I've said it before and I'll say this again. The impact he gives you is the type of impact that an All-Star would typically give you. He gives you that impact that like Kawhi Leonard gives you, the impact that guys like Anthony Davis give you on defense. We're talking like that level. These guys provide obviously a lot offensively as well, but what OG Anunoby is doing on defense is like no other. I mean, he's been good in rim protection and he's been great in the perimeter. I mean, I believe I saw a stat too on MSG last night that he's got the best defensive field goal percentage. Like, it's the lowest one out of anybody, which is phenomenal. I mean, I personally expected that because, I know OG Anunoby is one of the top defenders in the league overall, one of the better wing defenders, but I really did not realize how good of a rim protector he was, an interior defender. I know at 6'8", he's not exactly a small guy, he's a pretty big dude, but, like, at the same time, he's a little undersized. So, like, when you see him get matched up with some centers, you're kind of just like, oh, I don't know how that's going to go. But he's held his own. And he's really done a fantastic job with Mitchell Robinson out especially because, they're playing great defense right now. And they don't even have their best interior defender in Robinson. They don't have their best shot blocker, best offensive rebounder, all that stuff. They're missing their, entire paint presence. And they have a great defense at the moment. The first 2 months of the season, their defense was rough. It was, they had top offense, great offense. They were scoring left and right, just like they did last night against Toronto. Been scoring at a crazy rate. Everyone's been scoring, but their defense was just a bit behind that. It was a bit of a step behind. They kind of weren't playing that great on that end of the floor. Obviously, Karl-Anthony Towns was kind of getting some flack for, not being the best interior defender, but even he's stepped up of late. Even he's playing a lot better defensively. His defensive field goal percentage has gone down in the month of December as well. He's been, showing some physicality underneath the rim. Still kind of getting a bit of foul trouble a little too frequently for my liking, but as a big man, I mean, it's going to happen. Centers are going to get into foul trouble. That's why you kind of need more than one center in the rotation, and that's why we're missing Robinson so badly. But at the same time, I'm at least happy to see Towns is improving on that end of the floor because he's just been amazing offensively this year. I mean, 25 points per game, leading the league in rebounds as well, which I did not expect. I didn't realize Towns was that good of a rebounder. Obviously, he averages close to double-figure rebounds for his career, so I can expect him to be a good rebounder. I didn't realize, though, that he was that good at rebounding, that he's, a league leader in rebounding type player. I think him being the main center helps because, he is the only other guy in the starting 5 that's even above 6'8", but at the same time, he's just snagging over other opposing centers, over teams that have bigger lineups, 2 7-footers in their lineups, or 2 guys that are 6'10" and above. he's just been phenomenal down there. But really, like, back to my point with the defense, I think OG Anunoby has been the big main focal point of that, and that's why the defense has been playing so well as a unit, because he's kind of being that, like, that anchor. You know, Jalen Brunson's kind of the main engine for the offense, but OG's the main engine for the defense. I like to think of it that way. And I think also Mikal Bridges, too, has also made a step in the right direction on that end of the floor. You know, he started the season off kind of not so good defensively. I think a lot of us were hopeful that it was going to turn around, because this is a guy who's made first team all defense before. He did with the Phoenix Suns 2 years ago. So I think a lot of us could have expected Mikal Bridges to kind of turn it around, but it was definitely a little alarming to see him not be so good on that end of the floor. But now he's playing good defense, and the offense has come with it. You know, Bridges has really turned it around, and I think that's another thing. I think that's why the Knicks are also winning as many games. I know we're talking about the defense and why that's winning a lot of games, because I really do think it is. But I think Bridges really figuring out is also playing a part in that. You know, this is a guy that I mentioned in our last video that the Knicks kind of wanted him to be that third option. They didn't want OG Anunoby to be that third option. There's nothing wrong with OG being the third option, but I think they wanted Bridges to kind of be that, because Bridges is a lot more versatile than OG. It's just kind of that simple. Yes, OG has been scoring at, you know, all different levels of the court, very efficient player, but I think we all can agree that Bridges is a little more versatile in his skill set, because, you know, he's able to handle the ball more. He's able to, you know, make his own shots, create his own looks and all that stuff, and create for others as well. So really just seeing those kind of improvements from all these guys has been really the key to their success right now. And I'm really looking forward to it. Now, what I want to move on to is the Christmas game tomorrow against San Antonio Spurs. You know, Victor Wembanyama, who's been unbelievable this year. He's averaging 25 and 10 while also leading the league in blocks per game, nearly 4 blocks per game. Just ridiculous numbers from the big guy right there. You know, he's been an insane player. He's the truth. I'm at least happy to see him playing well. I like him a lot as a player. I do. But obviously tomorrow I have to root against him because I want the Knicks to win, and I do want to see the defense play well. So what I want to ask you, Davin, is what do you think the game plan should be against Victor Wembanyama? Because obviously the Knicks are, as a team, a little undersized. So that might kind of play to Wembanyama's advantage a little bit. So I kind of want to hear your input on that.
It definitely can. The last time Wemby was in the Garden, he had 14 and 9, kind of an underwhelming performance. I can't say we can anticipate him having a much better performance the next time he visits the Garden, because we saw when he put up a 40 and 20 against the Knicks when they visited San Antonio last season. But you've already spoken on and harped on, you know, really OG Anunoby and Cat. Those two guys really being the catalyst of a lot of things on the defensive end, translating to offense. It's kind of phenomenal. I mean, I'll be honest, OG Anunoby leads the team in net rating right now, only behind Karl-Anthony Towns. Those two guys are the best two as far as offensively and defensively together on this floor. They're almost unstoppable out there. He had 40 versus the Nuggets, comes back with 31 on 87% versus Toronto against his former team. So OG Anunoby really finding his balance in creating offensive versatility for the Knicks is really what it's all about. I will say this. I will say that I'm really looking forward to OG, what he does in the playoffs for us compared to the regular season. His buckets in the regular season, he's averaging 17.1 points per game. That's the most in 5 seasons for OG. Staying around that exact range is exactly where he needs to be. I don't anticipate him going for, like I said in the past, 25 to 30 points and stuff like that. We also talked about what this team would look like if OG could even get to 40 points. And he's already done that, and we've already seen him eclipse that. And now they haven't even reached their peak yet. We still need Mitchell Robinson back. I still think we need bench depth and things of that nature as far as wings go. But against the San Antonio Spurs, the game plan really is going to have to be, you know, use the poise that you already have. Use what you have. You guys, this is a young player. That's a young team. So, Stephon Castle. They have Chris Paul over there. But they got young players over there that really don't know how to, you know, let's say close games per se, but they have Wemby. They have a generational talent over there, I could say. I would definitely suggest that. So you guys just have the great camaraderie you've had lately, and you guys are on a 5-game winning streak. And that's kind of something we've been having a hard time down to get. We can get a 4-game winning streak on, but a 5-game winning streak, I don't think the Knicks have actually even had one of those this season. So it's a Christmas Day game. The lights are bright. Everyone's watching. So let's go ahead and put on the show against the San Antonio Spurs, because we know this kid Wemby, it's his second game in the Garden. He has to put on the show. He really wants to bad.
Yeah, you know Wemby's going to kind of want to put on the show after, you know, he had that 40-20 game last year against us when we were in San Antonio. But, you know, he had the game again in the Garden earlier on in the year last year where he put up a dud. But Mitchell Robinson was there for that game. We don't have Mitchell Robinson this time around. So it's going to be a little different. It's going to be something where I'm going to be interested to see how Cat handles Wemby, because I'm sure those two are going to get matched up just because of the size discrepancy there. Because, you know, if you put OG on him, I think Wemby's just going to go right through him. I'm sorry, but Wemby's a generational talent, 7'4". You're going to have Cat guarding him, which, you know, obviously defensively you're going to kind of be like, I don't really know, but you kind of don't have a choice. We don't have Mitchell Robinson there, because I bet you if Mitchell Robinson was was healthy, he was going to see a lot of time on the court in this game. He would have, because he's obviously a great defender, but he matches up well. He's shown that he matches up well with Wemby. But with all that stuff being said, something I really want to touch on, with this San Antonio game is Jalen Brunson, because he had that 39-point game against the Pelicans, but then he kind of put up a dud last night against Toronto, and thankfully it did not matter. We still ended up blowing him out, which is really a testament to the depth of the team. Anybody can go off on any given night. I mean, Cameron Payne gave us 19 off the bench. I couldn't have expected that. But aside from all that, I want Brunson to kind of turn it around. We've seen Brunson really turn it up when the lights are brighter. Obviously, like you said, Christmas game, everyone's going to be watching it. It's going to be the only game going on at the time. Everyone's going to be watching it. Everyone's going to be fiending for basketball. We're also the first game of the day, so everyone's definitely going to be watching that one just to kind of get the day started. And I think Brunson needs to put on a show. I do. I think, especially after losing that game in San Antonio in overtime last year, where Brunson had 61 points, by the way. Wemby had 40 points and 20 rebounds, but Brunson had 61. Brunson put on one of the best performances in Knicks history, if not the best even at that point. I mean, I guess we can't call it the best because they didn't win the game. But, it was one of the best in Knicks history. It's bottom line. I don't think that's disputable. So when you look at it that way, I think Brunson's going to kind of want to show that he can win these games even when he does go off. And I think he needs to kind of have a big game, not just for what happened last year, but also just for what happened last game. He only had 12 points last game against Toronto. He went 4 of 13. He didn't even hit a three-pointer, and he struggled from the free throw line as well. Those are all things that are just not Jalen Brunson-esque. I mean, every player is going to have a bad game, so I'm not going to look too deeply into that. It happens. Quite frankly, you can't expect every single player to go off on the same night, and I guess last night was just the night Jalen Brunson couldn't go off while the rest of the guys were doing their thing. So, you know what? If it results in wins, I don't really care, and I don't think Brunson really cares either. But at the same time, it gets a little frustrating as a player when you're just not hitting anything. Even if your team is up by 30, you're going to want to still hit your shots. You're going to want to make your free throws. You're going to want to make your three-pointers. It is that simple. And I think he's going to really want to do that tomorrow against the San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs are not exactly a team we should just glance over, though. This is a different Spurs team than last year. They're above 500 right now in a highly competitive Western Conference. And the addition of Chris Paul seems to have worked out well for Victor Wembanyama and that young Spurs team. Stephon Castle's obviously been a very intriguing rookie. They still have Devin Vassell out there. They got some very intriguing young players that have all been playing well this year. They have some flaws. They're not the best team out there, obviously, but they're not exactly a team we can just look at and go, oh, this should be an easy win like we did last night against Toronto. No, it needs to be a game where you kind of got to take it serious. You're facing one of the best players in the NBA. You're facing a guy that is going to be an all-star this year in Wemby, and you're going to be facing a guy that, is going to be up there in MVP conversations, whether it's this year or the years ahead. You're facing a generational talent. You have to really put on a show in front of everybody at Madison Square Garden on Christmas Day. I'm looking forward to it. The Knicks won on Christmas last year after they had kind of, gotten a little bit of a slow start last year, and then they win on Christmas Day, and then just 5 days later, they made the trade for OG Anunoby, and the rest is history at that point. So, obviously, I don't know what's ahead for us after the Christmas game. Who knows if they make a trade during the month of January, if they make a trade right before the new year again. We're not going to speculate about all that right now. We're going to focus on the team we have at the moment, because I do think the team we have right now is a very, 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 very good team. They've been phenomenal right now. I mean, like I just said at the opening, they've won 14 of their last 18 games. They started the season 5-6, and we're 19-10 right now. I mean, they've just been phenomenal. But before we do wrap this episode up, I want to give you an opportunity to give one more thing on input. So one thing I really want to talk about is the bench depth. We've seen Cameron Payne now have a great game off the bench. Miles McBride has been, a unit offensively and defensively all year. Precious Achiuwa is starting to kind of mold his way in. So what I want to ask you is, just looking at the bench and stuff like that, who do you think is going to be like the main catalyst off the bench tomorrow against San Antonio?
Yeah, before we wrap it up, man, shout out Cameron Payne. What a vet. 9 years in the league, season high 19 points on 70% shooting. And to be honest with you, I would like to say Cameron Payne. It should be Miles McBride, though, to be honest with you. I don't think Cameron Payne will be the guy that will be the catalyst night in, night out. I don't think he should be. It's good to see what he put on a show against Toronto. I mean, we needed a performance like that. We need to see things like that on the regular, maybe more 10, 12 points a game consistently. At the same time, I think the Knicks, they need a wing They need a wing off the bench. They need someone to go get in free agency. I don't know if make a trade. I don't know what you're going to do in the offseason, how that goes. Because, like you said, we're focused on the team right now. At the same time, we have Mikal Bridges leading the league in minutes played consistently, while OG Anunoby's also, he's not too far behind him. You know, both of those guys are top 10 in minutes played. And I think that's what the team needs to be addressed. Pacom Dadier, I don't know if he's going to be the guy, the rookie or not. We're going to go get TJ Warren out of the G League. I don't know what they're going to do, but I think that needs to be addressed here soon because we're not going to have these guys running crazy by the time the playoffs come around and kind of just get used to this fact that Mikal Bridges is leading league in minutes. Sure, he can't miss a game, Iron Man, that's right, but at the same time, we can't have the guy playing 40 minutes a night out there. We need someone on the backup on the wings and get this thing going.
Yeah, and you know, I kind of want to pick a different catalyst than you. I think the catalyst will be Achua. I do, because I think the defense is going to be something you really need to kind of emphasize tomorrow against San Antonio, because I think you have the offense settled, you know. We know that everybody on that team can score. We've seen it time and time again now. We've seen this team put up 120, 130 points pretty much on a regular basis now, which is something that I couldn't have pictured coming into the season. Like, I knew the offense was going to look better. I didn't think it was going to look this good, though. So I think really we need to kind of emphasize the defense tomorrow against San Antonio, and I think Achua is going to be a big catalyst for that because, you know, Achua is kind of starting to really figure his way into the rotation again. You know, he missed the first 21 games with a hamstring injury. Now he's coming back. You know, he was on a minutes restriction the first 2 games. You know, the past 2 or 3 games or so, he's kind of really started to play a lot more, kind of have a more consistent role like we envisioned him having coming into the season, and he's looked well. You know, he obviously kind of started a little but I attributed that to just simply not getting back into the rotation. I wasn't, like, looking at that going, like, man, he is horrible right now. Like, no, he came back from an injury, missed 21 games. You got to give him time to kind of, you know, figure things out. The same thing's going to happen when Mitchell Robinson comes back. The first few games that Mitchell Robinson is back, I guarantee you he does not look that dominant. He doesn't. It's going to be something, you know, he had off-season ankle surgery. He's going to come back. He's going to look a step slow. You know, it takes a minute to kind of get your conditioning back. Those things matter. And I think Achua's kind of starting to really figure that out lately. You know, he's looked a lot better on defense. He's grabbing rebounds as well. Offensively, yeah, he's still a little limited. We all know that, but we're not expecting Precious Achua to put up points. We have enough guys to do that for us. We don't need Achua to put up anything close to double-digit points. I don't really care if Achua scores no points. I just need the defense and the rebounds. That's kind of what he's there for, and that's what he's been doing. And I think, you know, the past 2 games he started to really kind of show that, hey, he can be a very good defender for us, very good in the rotation, very kind of useful as a backup big sort of type guy. Jericho Sims, I don't expect to see Jericho Sims in the game at all. You know, he didn't play. I don't believe he played last night against Toronto, and if he did, it would have been in garbage time. And he did play a little bit in the game against New Orleans and was pretty effective, but regardless, he's been so in and out of the rotation that I don't think he's going to play this game against San Antonio just because of the matchup. I don't think they want Sims on Victor Wembanyama. I don't think that's a good matchup really at all. I think Achua can handle it, though. We've seen Achua handle Joel Embiid in the playoffs before, so I do think that, you know, we can see him handle Victor Wembanyama pretty well. So I mean, I'm interested to see what will happen, but, you know, at the end of the day, I do think that Achua is going to kind of be that main catalyst right there for us. I think he's going to kind of be that main piece on the defensive side for the bench. So I'm really intrigued about that. But I do think this is a good place to kind of wrap the episode up. So with that being said, we really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let us know what you guys think about all that stuff we just talked about in the comments section below. And, of course, the game tomorrow against San Antonio. Pretty big game, pretty important game. So let us know what you think about that. We'd love to hear about it. You can follow us on all of our social media platforms. We're on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and, of course, this YouTube page that you were watching the video on. You can follow our personal Twitter accounts. They're right there above our heads. And we will see you guys in the next episode of Fireside Knicks. Peace out.